I still remember the first day I saw her. It was one of those ordinary mornings that suddenly turn extraordinary without warning. The air smelled of rain, the sky was painted with soft gray clouds, and I was running late for work. I rushed through the crowded street, carrying files in one hand and adjusting my tie with the other, when I saw her, standing by the corner bookstore. She wasn't doing anything special, just flipping through the pages of a novel, completely lost in the world of words. But something about her presence pulled me in. The way her hair fell across her face, the way her eyes glowed with quiet curiosity, the small smile that tugged at her lips, it all felt like a moment carved out of a dream. I had seen beauty before. But this wasn't just beauty. This was something deeper. She looked untouchable. Like the kind of person who could change your life without ever trying. For a moment, I forgot I was late. For a moment, the world around me faded. It was just her. I don't know what pushed me, maybe fate, maybe foolish courage, but I stepped forward. "You like reading?" I asked, my voice unsteady. She looked up, startled at first, then her eyes softened, as if she had been expecting me all along. "I do," she said, her voice low, calm, and sweet. "Books are the only friends that never betray you." At that time, I didn't realize how heavy those words were. How ironic they would one day become. All I knew was that I wanted to hear her voice again, wanted to keep her talking, wanted to be a part of her world. That was the beginning. Days turned into weeks, and weeks into months. We kept meeting. Sometimes at the bookstore, sometimes at the cafe across the street. Our conversations flowed like a river, effortless, endless. She told me about her love for old poetry, for rainy evenings, for music that spoke to the soul. I told her about my dreams, my struggles, my small victories. With her, I never felt judged. I never felt small. She listened as if my words mattered, as if I mattered. And slowly, almost without realizing it, I began to fall. No, not fall. I plunged. Every smile of hers became a memory I treasured. Every laugh felt like sunlight breaking through a storm. I found myself doing little things just to make her happy, buying her favorite book, surprising her with coffee, walking her home just so I could have 5 more minutes in her company. And one evening, under the dim street lights, I gathered all my courage and told her, "I don't know how else to say this, but I think I'm falling in love with you." Her silence stretched for a moment that felt like eternity. Then she smiled, the kind of smile that could heal broken bones, that could silence storms, and whispered, "I was hoping you'd say that." That night my world became complete. Our wedding wasn't grand. It didn't need to be. It was small, simple, filled with laughter and blessings from friends and family. I remember standing at the altar, my hands trembling, my heart racing, as I watched her walk down the aisle in that white dress. She looked like a dream stitched together from light and hope. When she reached me, she squeezed my hand, and I just knew, that I was the luckiest man alive. Married life was sweeter than I could have imagined. We moved into a small apartment, nothing fancy, but it was ours. We decorated it together, fought over the color of curtains, laughed about burnt dinners, stayed up late watching movies, and woke up early just to have coffee before work. I worked hard to build a stable life for us. Every day, I left home with a fire in my heart, knowing I had someone to come back to, someone who made all the struggles worthwhile. She was my anchor, my safe place, my reason to keep going. And I loved her with every breath I had. I thought she loved me the same. I thought our hearts beat as one. I thought we were unbreakable. But life has a cruel way of showing you the truth. At first, I told myself it was just life. People get busy, work piles up, stress takes over, and the glow of early love fades into something calmer, quieter. I believed that's all it was. But deep down, a part of me knew something was different. It started small. Little things you could almost ignore. She used to greet me at the door whenever I came home from work, wrapping her arms around me like she hadn't seen me in years, even if it had only been hours. But slowly those greetings stopped. Sometimes she was in the kitchen, sometimes on her phone, sometimes simply lying on the couch, too tired to move. Her smile, that smile that once lit up my world, began to appear less often. When we talked, her eyes wandered, as if her mind was elsewhere. I would ask about her day, and she would answer with one-word replies. Fine. Good. Tiring. At first, I thought she was just stressed. So, I tried harder. I brought her flowers, surprised her with dinner, even planned a weekend getaway. She thanked me, yes, but her eyes, they no longer sparkled the way they used to. One night, as we lay in bed, I turned to her and whispered, "Are you happy?" She hesitated, then nodded. "Of course. Why wouldn't I be?" But the way she said it, quick, defensive, almost rehearsed, made my stomach twist. I wanted to believe her. God, I wanted to believe her. But a voice inside me whispered, "She's slipping away from you." The phone became her companion. Late at night, when I was half asleep, I'd catch the faint glow of her screen. She would be scrolling, typing, deleting, staring. Sometimes she smiled faintly at whatever she saw, a smile she hadn't given me in weeks. I asked once, trying to keep my tone light, "Who are you texting?" She locked her phone instantly, as if I had caught her doing something forbidden. Then she laughed it off. "Just a friend from college. Don't be jealous." I told myself not to overthink. She deserved privacy. We all do. But why did her privacy feel like a wall between us? Another change, her silence. We used to talk about everything, dreams, fears, silly thoughts, even nonsense. Our conversations were endless. But now, silence sat between us like an uninvited guest at the dinner table. I would tell her about my day at work, the struggles, the little victories, the annoying coworker, and she would nod, hum, maybe say, "That's nice." But when I asked about her day, she'd shrug. Nothing much happened. Every single day. I knew that couldn't be true. Something always happens in a day. But she didn't want to share it with me anymore. Then came the dreams. One night, I heard her murmur in her sleep. A name. A man's name. My heart froze. I sat up, staring at her face in the dim light, my chest tightening as she whispered it again. It wasn't my name. I didn't wake her. I didn't dare. But I couldn't sleep either. The name echoed in my mind like a curse. The next morning, I asked casually, "Did you dream anything last night?" She shook her head. "No." "Why?" "Nothing," I said quickly, forcing a smile. But inside, I was breaking. Even intimacy changed. Her touch used to be filled with warmth, with love, with desire. Now, it felt mechanical, distant, as if she were fulfilling an obligation rather than sharing herself with me. Sometimes she avoided me altogether, claiming she was tired, not in the mood, or had a headache. I respected her space, I always did, but the rejection left me hollow. I tried to tell myself I was imagining things. That all marriages go through phases. That she still loved me. That maybe I was just insecure. But the truth? I was losing her. Not to another man's arms, not yet. But to another man's memory. Another man's presence in her heart. And there is no pain sharper than lying beside someone you love, while knowing their thoughts belong to someone else. It's strange how silence can be louder than words. In our home, the silence had started to grow roots. We still ate dinner together, still shared a bed, still exchanged pleasantries about the weather, about groceries, about bills, but the real us, the laughter, the warmth, the closeness, that was gone. I told myself not to panic. People change. Life changes. But the more I tried to ignore it, the more obvious it became. She was hiding something. The first time I heard the name, I thought I was dreaming. It was around 2 in the morning. I woke up thirsty, my throat dry, so I got out of bed to fetch a glass of water. As I walked back, I heard her voice, soft, almost fragile. She was asleep, but her lips moved, whispering a name. Not mine. I froze, the glass trembling in my hand. My heart pounded as if trying to burst out of my chest. I leaned closer, hoping I had misheard. But no, she whispered it again. A man's name. I can't describe what that moment felt like. Imagine building a house brick by brick, year by year, pouring your soul into it, and then hearing the first crack split across its walls. That's what I felt. A crack in everything I believed was solid. I didn't wake her. I just stood there, staring at her face, peaceful and innocent in sleep, as if she weren't tearing me apart without even knowing it. The next day, I tried to act normal. At breakfast, I casually asked, "Did you dream anything last night?" She looked up from her tea and shook her head. "No, not really." "Why?" I forced a smile. "Nothing. Just wondering." But inside I screamed. Why had she whispered another man's name in her sleep? Who was he? A friend? A stranger? An old lover? The questions clawed at my mind, leaving me restless. Days passed, and I became more observant. Her phone, once left carelessly on the table, was now always with her. Even in the bathroom, even while cooking. If a notification pinged, she grabbed it instantly. Once, while she was in the shower, I saw her phone light up. No name, just a hidden notification that said, "Message received." My hands shook with the temptation to pick it up, to look, to know. But I didn't. I still trusted her. Or maybe I was afraid of what I'd find. Then came the diary. It was tucked away in the drawer of her bedside table, half hidden under scarves and old papers. I wasn't snooping, not intentionally. I was looking for the TV remote when I stumbled upon it. A simple, leather-bound notebook. My heart told me to leave it. But curiosity, fear, and desperation pushed me to open it. The first few pages were harmless. Grocery lists, notes, random thoughts. But deeper inside, the words changed. She wrote about emptiness. About feeling trapped. About missing someone who understood her better than anyone else. And then I saw it, the name. The same name she whispered in her sleep. I felt my knees weaken. I sank onto the bed, the diary slipping from my hands. It wasn't just a name. It was a ghost, haunting our marriage, stealing her love while she lay beside me every night. I closed the diary quickly, placing it back as if untouched. My hands shook, my chest tightened, and I sat there for hours, staring at the wall. She hadn't cheated physically, at least not yet. But emotionally? Her heart wasn't mine anymore. It hadn't been for a long time. From that day on, I saw everything differently. When she laughed at a message on her phone, I wondered if it was him. When she stared out the window in silence, I wondered if she was thinking of him. When she touched me, softly, absent-mindedly, I wondered if she wished it was him instead. The stranger wasn't a stranger to her. He was someone she loved in silence. And I, her husband, the man who gave her everything, had unknowingly become the outsider in her heart. One evening, as she cooked dinner, I stood in the doorway watching her. She hummed softly to herself, lost in thought, not noticing me. And I realized something that broke me completely. She looked happier in her silence than she did in my presence. The night it happened, I remember every detail. The air felt heavy, pressing against my chest. The sky outside was dark, but our apartment was lit with a golden glow from the lamps. She was sitting on the couch, scrolling through her phone, her face illuminated by the cold blue light of the screen. I was reading a book, or at least pretending to. My eyes scanned the pages, but none of the words made sense. My ears, my mind, my whole being was tuned only to her. Then it happened. Her phone buzzed. She smiled. Not just any smile, the kind I hadn't seen in months. A soft, glowing smile that reached her eyes. A smile that once belonged to me, but now, it was his. She typed quickly, her fingers dancing across the screen, then pressed her phone to her chest as if hiding the warmth of his words. My heart pounded. I couldn't pretend anymore. Later that night, when she was asleep, I couldn't resist. I knew it was wrong, I knew it was a violation of trust, but trust had already been shattered. I reached for her phone on the bedside table. My hands trembled so violently I almost dropped it. The screen lit up. A password. My heart sank. She had never locked her phone before. I tried her birthday. Wrong. Our wedding date. Wrong. My birthday. Wrong. For a moment, I thought I'd never know. But then, almost mockingly, the thought struck me, his name. I typed the name she whispered in her sleep. The phone unlocked. I can't explain the mixture of emotions that crashed over me: relief, rage, heartbreak, betrayal, all at once. The messages were endless. Months of conversations. At first, harmless. How have you been? I miss our old days. Do you still think of me? But then deeper. More dangerous. I think of you every night. Sometimes, when I close my eyes, I imagine it's you beside me. My heart has never moved on. And her replies. God, her replies cut me open. I feel the same. You're always in my heart. I love him, but not the way I loved you. Each word felt like a knife twisting deeper into my chest. I scrolled endlessly, reading her heart pour out to another man, the man she loved in silence, the man who was stealing her from me one message at a time. Then came the pictures. Not indecent, not physical, but somehow worse. Photos of sunsets, of books she was reading, of meals she cooked. Things she never bothered to share with me anymore, she shared with him. It was intimacy without touch. Love without presence. And it was killing me. I sat there in the dark, her phone in my hand, tears blurring my vision. She slept peacefully beside me, unaware that her world of secrets had collapsed into mine. For hours I couldn't move. Couldn't breathe. Couldn't decide what to do. Should I wake her and confront her? Should I scream? Should I leave? But all I did was sit there, broken, shattered, staring at the woman I thought I knew, the woman who had promised to love me forever, and realizing she had never truly been mine. The next morning, I tried to act normal. I poured coffee, kissed her forehead, and pretended nothing had changed. But inside, I was burning alive. Every time she smiled at me, I saw the smile she gave him. Every word she spoke felt like a lie. Every touch felt hollow. And I knew, sooner or later, I had to confront the truth. But I wasn't ready. Not yet. Because sometimes the truth doesn't just hurt. It destroys. The hardest part of knowing the truth is pretending you don't. After reading those messages, I moved through the days like a ghost in my own home. I went to work, I ate beside her, I even smiled when she spoke. But inside I was bleeding. Every word she said, every glance she gave me, felt poisoned by the memory of those words I had seen on her phone. I was no longer her husband. I had become her jailer, guarding her lies, protecting her secret, because I was too afraid to shatter the fragile glass of our marriage. But glass always breaks. It happened on a rainy Thursday night. She was sitting by the window, sipping tea, staring into the storm outside. Her phone buzzed. She looked down at it, and for just a second, her lips curved into a soft smile, the kind of smile I hadn't seen in a long time. A secret smile. Not for me. And something inside me snapped. "Who is he?" I asked. My voice came out sharper than I expected. She froze, the cup trembling in her hands. "What?" "You know what I mean," I said, my hands shaking as I stood up. "The man you write to, the man you think about, the man you still love." Her eyes widened. Fear flashed across her face, but then anger replaced it. "You went through my phone." I laughed bitterly, though it sounded more like a sob. "That's what you care about? That I saw the truth? Not that you've been lying to me every single day?" She stood up quickly, folding her arms in defense. "It's not what you think. Not what I think." My voice cracked as I stepped closer. "You told him you loved him. You told him you thought of him every night. You gave him the part of you that you never gave me. What else am I supposed to think?" Tears filled her eyes, but she refused to let them fall. It's not physical. I never cheated on you. I shook my head, my chest burning with pain. Do you really think that makes it better? You gave him your heart, your thoughts, your soul. Do you know what it feels like to lie next to someone every night, knowing their heart belongs to someone else? Her silence was the cruelest answer of all. Finally, she whispered, I didn't mean for it to happen. I clenched my fists. Then why did you let it? She lowered her face into her hands. Her voice cracked. Because I never stopped loving him. Those words cut me open. She lifted her head, her eyes shimmering with tears. He was my first love. Before you. Before all of this. We were young, but it was real. When I married you, I thought I had moved on. I thought I could bury it. But I never did. My knees weakened, and I sank into the chair across from her. My voice was barely more than a whisper. So what was I then? A replacement? A bandage for a wound you never wanted to heal? No, she cried. I cared for you. I still care for you. You've been good to me. You gave me everything. But caring isn't the same as loving. And I never loved you the way you loved me. The words echoed in my skull, merciless, unstoppable. I wanted to scream, to run, to tear down the walls, but all I could do was sit there, broken. Why didn't you tell me? I asked. My voice sounded raw, like it didn't belong to me. Why didn't you let me go instead of trapping me in this lie? Her lips trembled. Because I didn't want to hurt you. And because I was afraid. Afraid of being alone. Afraid of losing a life that looked perfect on the outside. I shook my head, laughing bitterly through tears. Perfect? Do you even know what you've done to me? Every smile, every kiss, every I love you, they mean nothing now. Nothing. She reached for me with pleading eyes. I didn't want to lose you. You lost me the moment you chose him. I whispered. The room fell into silence. The rain tapped against the window, steady and relentless. She stared at the floor, and I stared at her, trying to recognize the woman I once thought was mine. For years I believed her heart was mine. For years I built my life around her. And now, in a single night, she had destroyed it all with 7 words. I never stopped loving him. My chest felt hollow. My breath came shallow. Tell me one thing, I finally said. My voice was trembling. If he asked you to leave me right now, would you go? She didn't answer. She didn't need to. Her silence was louder than words. I stood, my vision blurred by tears. Then this marriage was over long before tonight. I turned toward the bedroom to gather my things, but she rushed after me, grabbing my arm. Please don't leave. I can fix this. I'll stop talking to him. I'll forget him. Just give me a chance. I turned to her, torn between love and hate. You can't unlove someone. You can hide it. You can bury it. You can pretend it's gone. But it's still there, beating inside you. And I can't live my life competing with a ghost. Her hand fell from my arm. Her face crumbled. That night, I walked out of the apartment. Not forever, not yet. I just needed air. I needed distance. I needed to breathe without choking on her lies. But as I walked down the rain-soaked street, one truth echoed inside me, cruel and relentless. I had loved her with all my heart. But her heart was never mine. I didn't sleep that night. I walked through the city until my shoes were soaked, until my skin was cold, until my mind was numb. Every step echoed with her words. I never stopped loving him. When the rain finally stopped, I found myself sitting on a park bench, staring at the empty streets. I thought about everything, our first meeting, our wedding day, the promises we made. I had loved her with all I had. But love, I realized, means nothing when it isn't returned. As the morning sun broke through the clouds, I made a decision. I couldn't keep living like this. I couldn't stay in a marriage where I was nothing more than a placeholder for the man she truly loved. When I returned home, she was waiting. Her eyes were red, her face pale. She had been crying all night. You came back, she whispered. I came back for my things, I said quietly. Her lips quivered. Please don't do this. We can start over. We can fix this. I shook my head. You can't rebuild something on broken ground. You said it yourself, you never loved me the way I loved you. How do we fix that? Tears streamed down her face as she reached for me. I don't want to lose you. I pulled away, my heart breaking all over again. You lost me long ago. You just didn't admit it. For a long moment, we stood there in silence. Two strangers in the ruins of what once felt like forever. Finally, I packed my things. Every shirt, every book, every small piece of me that had lived in that apartment. With each item I placed in the bag, it felt like I was peeling away the last of my illusions. At the door, I turned to her one last time. She was standing in the middle of the room, her body trembling, her eyes begging. I almost faltered. A part of me still loved her, still wanted to hold her, still wanted to believe we could erase the truth. But lies don't erase. They stay etched into the soul. I hope you find what you're looking for, I whispered. And then I left. The days that followed were heavy. The nights were worse. Loneliness wrapped around me like chains. I replayed every moment, every smile, every kiss, and I questioned it all. Was any of it real? Or had I been living in a dream she never shared? But slowly, painfully, I began to understand. Love is not about holding on to someone who doesn't hold on to you. Love is not begging for scraps of affection when their heart is elsewhere. Love is dignity. And sometimes, love is letting go. Weeks later, I stood at the same park where I had first made my decision. The air was fresh, the sky was clear. For the first time in a long while, I could breathe without feeling the weight of her shadow. I had loved her with all my heart. But she had loved someone else in silence. And now, at last, I was free. It took me a long time to understand what happened. For weeks, I carried the weight of betrayal like a stone in my chest. I replayed her words, her tears, her silence, until I thought they would drive me mad. But time has a way of softening even the sharpest edges. And slowly, through the pain, I began to see the truth, not just about her, but about myself. I realized that love, no matter how pure, cannot survive in one heart alone. It needs to be shared, nurtured, protected by two souls, not one. I gave her everything, but she gave her heart to someone else. That wasn't my failure. That was hers. I realized that silence can be the loudest form of betrayal. She didn't need to scream or confess. Her distance, her secret smiles, her unspoken words, they were all confessions long before I uncovered the truth. And I realized that letting go is not weakness. It is strength. It takes more courage to walk away from someone who cannot love you than it does to stay and live a lie. I once believed that my life was tied to hers, that my happiness depended on her presence. But I was wrong. Happiness doesn't come from clinging to someone else's love. It comes from finding the courage to love yourself enough to walk away when you deserve better. I still remember the woman I married, the dreams we built, the life we tried to create. But I no longer hold on to the pain. She chose her path, and I chose mine. If I could speak to anyone going through the same, I would say this: never settle for half a heart. Never accept love that hides in shadows. And never believe that betrayal defines you. It does not. It reveals the truth, and sometimes the truth sets you free. I loved her with all my heart. She loved someone else in silence. But from that silence, I found my voice. And with that voice, I finally said goodbye. The story ended not with her betrayal, but with my freedom. And that is enough. Like and subscribe for more betrayal stories.